The Orlando housing market correction is now well underway. Home values are going down all across the Orlando housing market, and they will likely continue to drop over the next year. The question is, just how much more are prices going to drop, and is this going to turn into like a full-scale crash like what we saw back in 2008, 2009, or is this just a blip on the radar? These are questions that you need to know the answer to as a home buyer in Central Florida, and I'm going to provide those answers to you in this video. So let's get going. And this is a live stream, by the way, so feel free to leave your requests. So let's get started by looking at how much home values in Orlando have gone down over the last year. You can see home values in Orlando are down 3.5% from July 2024 to 2025. So we are officially in correction territory. Values are dropping in Orlando. And in fact, everyone, this is the biggest one-year decline in home values that we have seen since 2011. So for those of you that think like, oh, 3.5% is not that big a deal, it's actually one of the biggest annual drops we've ever seen in Orlando's housing market history. The only bigger drops occurred in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. And the reason these declines are occurring is because there's a lot of inventory for sale on the market. A lot of people moved down to Orlando during the pandemic and as well as the surrounding areas in 2020, 2021, 2022. Well, now a lot of those people are leaving and selling their homes. And unfortunately for them, there's not a lot of buyers in the current market because the prices went up a lot. The prices surged, the mortgage rates went up, and the affordability for locals is really, really low. So we here at Reventure App, we think prices are going to continue to drop in Orlando over the next 12 months. And I'm going to give you some cues on my 12-month forecast towards the end of this video. But first, I want you all to understand why prices are dropping and why they're likely going to continue to drop in the future. Because if you talk to some local realtors in Orlando or local investors, they're going to try to tell you like, oh, there's no downturn. This is nothing to be worried about. But when you look at the data, folks, the data is showing we do have some things to be concerned about in Orlando because when we look at inventory, the amount of homes on the market, and by the way, everyone, I'm using data available on Reventure app here in this live stream. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you all how you can access this data for yourself on Reventure app so you can make a more informed decision. But you can see in the Orlando, Kissimiee, Sanford metro, which is a big area. This is a big area. There's 14,300 homes currently for sale. Now, when we look at the historical graph, we can see this is an unprecedented amount of inventory. We have almost, what is that? 60 or 70% more inventory than normal for July in the Orlando metro housing market. So when you see this much inventory on the market, it's telling you that prices will be dropping. And it explains why prices are dropping. This super high inventory prior to the pandemic, there was only 10,000 homes on the market for sale. Now there's 14,300 homes on the market for sale. So this really explains the state of Orlando's housing market. And if you're a buyer trying to understand the future direction, if you're a seller trying to understand the future direction, just make sure you understand this inventory graph because it really tells you a lot. It really tells you a lot about what's going on. Additionally, let's look at home sales. How many transactions are taking place? This is also a graph that presents some concern because back during the peak of the pandemic, we had about 5,000 home sales, according to data from Redfin, taking place in July 2021. Well, in July 2025, only 3,100 home sales took place, which was basically the lowest level in 13 years. So to properly understand where Orlando's housing market is heading, understand that inventory is a 10-year record, while home sales and buyer demand is at a 10-year low. And if inventory is at a 10-year record and buyer demand's at a 10-year low, that means we're going to likely see declining prices because sellers are going to list their homes and not really have many offers, not really have many buyers. And I'm not trying to be too negative on Orlando's housing market here, folks. I just want you all to understand this because I know if you talk to the locals in Orlando, they're going to keep saying things like, everyone is moving here. All the investors are buying homes. They're going to keep repeating a lot of the mantra and narrative of the pandemic. Is what a lot of the local people in Orlando are going to do if you talk to them and try to understand the market. So when you have this data on your side as a buyer or investor, you're well ahead of the game in terms of understanding where the market is heading and by how much prices could go down into the future. And ultimately, I think in the long run, Orlando could be a good place to buy, right? It's a high population growth market. Lots of people moved in during the pandemic. Net, I think there's still people moving in. There's still some people moving in, just not nearly as many as there were before. However, one thing I do need to talk about here in this video for you all, especially if you're a prospective buyer, is the huge differences across Orlando's housing market. So, Orlando metro population, I think, is something like 3.5 million. 3.5 million people, a lot of different pockets, a lot of different neighborhoods. Are all the neighborhoods in all the cities and counties surrounding Orlando behaving the same way? And are some areas actually displaying more resilience in this housing downturn? And could they actually be better places to buy if you need to buy right now? Like, are there some pockets of Orlando where, like, say you need to buy and you want to buy in an area that's not going to drop? Are there some pockets that are like that? Well, the answer is yes, there are. But there's also other pockets where prices are dropping and dropping hard. So now I'm going to start digging into this more local data for you guys so you can understand what's going on more in your backyard if you're looking and buying in the Orlando metro. So let's do this on Reventure app, everyone. And if you want to kind of follow along, you can take out your Reventure mobile app. You can go to www.reventure.app. But I would ask you guys, wait to do that until the end of this video. Let's shift to the county view. We're going to shift to county view on Reventure app because you can see we have 4 big counties that comprise the Orlando metro. We have Orange County, which is the big one. Osceola County to the south, which includes Kissimiee and where Disney is. Then we have Seminole County to the north, and then Lake County to the northwest. This is the 4-county Orlando metro. Now, let's look at prices over the last year. We can see they're down pretty much everywhere. They're down 3.4% in Orange County, 3.5% in Seminole County, 4.2% in Osceola County, and 2.6% in Lake County. So we have declining values everywhere. So that's just an important point to think about. It's not as if one county in Orlando is really like doing way better than any of the other counties. They're all experiencing declining values on year-over-year basis. On a month-over-month basis, they're experiencing similar declines, minus 0.6, minus 0.7% in a month, which translates to minus 0.8, minus 0.9% in a year. So pretty stiff correction going on here. And the reason is all of these counties, folks, have a big inventory surplus. So we have a metric here on Reventure app called the inventory surplus or deficit, which takes a look at how inventory compares today to the long-term average. And you can see in all these counties, and really all the counties in and around Central Florida, there's a huge inventory surplus. So in Orange County, 54% more homes on the market than normal. In Seminole County, 45% more homes on the market than normal. In Lake County, 66% more homes on the market than normal. And if we want to go out to Sumter County, this is where the Villages is, 65% more homes on the market than normal. Down in Osceola County, this is where we have the biggest inventory surplus, folks. 81% inventory surplus in Osceola County. Whew. I mean, this is telling you, folks, that values have some heavy downward pressure. Like, look at this inventory graph. Look at this inventory graph. And in a second, we're actually going to take a look at some of the listings in Osceola County so you guys can see kind of what's going on in real time on the ground with some of these listings. But take a look at this. We went from 2,100 homes for sale in July 2023 to 4,300 homes for sale in July 2025, which is almost double the long-term average. So when you see this much inventory, it's telling you it's a buyer's market. It's good for you as a buyer. And I want to have that distinction here, right? The fact that Orlando's housing market's going through a correction, its biggest correction in 15 years, is good news if you're a home buyer and investor. Like, this is actually great news if you're a home buyer investor. There's a lot of people who like to say a housing market correction is a bad thing. No, if you're a prospective buyer, it's a great thing. Lots of homes on the market, homes getting cheaper, sellers cutting the price, and that likely to continue into the future. That's all great news if you're a prospective buyer in Central Florida who's been waiting the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You've been waiting patiently to buy a house. You were waiting it out maybe in 2021 and 2022 when all the people were frenzied and buying at peak prices. Maybe you decided to wait. now is your payoff. Now is the time where your waiting is actually turning into opportunity, where your waiting is leading to not only aggregate value declines of 3 or 4% across the metro, but certain listings have much bigger price cuts than that. So let's actually get into that right now, everyone. Let's look at some listings here in the Orlando area housing market. So we're going to go to Zillow and we're going to just take a look here at some listings. And you can see, we actually have some houses with some cheaper price points. This is a house in Kissimiee, 3-bed, 2-bath. Now, Kissimiee, this is near Disney, everyone. This is near Disney. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these houses hitting the market here near Disney were former Airbnbs. And actually, does this house have a pool? Looks like this house might actually have a pool. Does it have a pool? Maybe the pool's in the community center. Actually, it's not that the house has the pool, and the house is actually attached to other houses, so it's kind of like a townhouse setup, I guess. It's not quite multiple floors, but you're attached to your neighbor. 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,100 square feet. They have it listed for $245,000. Now, if we scroll down, take a look at the price history. So see, this is the issue, everyone. 245,000 might seem affordable on face value, but you can see this owner bought it for 119,000 in 2016. So this owner is doubling the price from what they bought it for in 2016, and no doubt there's been significant appreciation since 2016. We'll have to see if the owner is able to get this price. The house has been on the market for 5 days. It has 76 saves on Zillow, on 1,700 views. Let's take a look at some other listings. Let's go down towards more towards Osceola County, actually. St. Cloud. This is an area I actually stayed in once, everyone. Oh my gosh. Take a look at this, everyone. I just zoomed in. Look at all of these homes for sale. I was showing you those inventory statistics earlier, right? 14,000 homes on the market across the Orlando metro. Well, here's the inventory, right? Just zoom in a little bit on Zillow and take a look at the homes, and you can see, wow, we just got a lot of homes for sale here. Let's take a look at this one. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot, 339,000. Now, again, this is in St. Cloud to the south of downtown Orlando in Osceola County, northern Osceola County. It's been on the market 41 days, 500 views, 30 saves. That's not a ton of views or saves. Let's see the price history. Yeah, this is another example of, an owner who bought in 2018 for 196,000 and is listing 74% higher than that in 2025. Now, how do we validate this, right? Like if you're a prospective buyer and you look at a listing like this one and you're saying to yourself, like, what would be a fair price to offer for this listing? Or, is this market even a market worth buying in? Let's do this, everyone. Let's take the zip code 34769. 34769. Let's type the zip code into Reventure app. 34769. St. Cloud. Now, you can see, here's that zip code where we were just looking. 143 homes for sale, July 2023. Now, that inventory, we start here, is up 81% compared to the long-term norm. 81% inventory surplus. That immediately tells you, if you're a prospective buyer, that you have negotiating leverage, that sellers have a lot of competition. That's the first thing that tells you. Now, let's take a look at the price cut rate. 36% of sellers cut the price in the most recent month. Is that high? Is that low compared to the long-term average? Well, you can see it's high. That's a record, actually. We have a record price cut rate for this zip code in July 2025 in Osceola County, St. Cloud, Florida, south of Orlando. So we have record price cuts, according to the data from Realtor.com, which is sourced on Reventure app. We have record inventory by far. And then what about the days on the market? Days on market. Record days on market. So think about that. We have record inventory, record price cuts, record DOM. That combination is telling you that prices are likely to drop into the future. Now you can see here on the Reventure app forecast, we have a minus 8.9% forecast for this zip code. That's a pretty big downward forecast. And this is a metric you can unlock. If you go to www.reventure.app and sign up for a premium plan, you'll be able to unlock this forecast for almost every zip code in America, actually. So you could see where our data is suggesting the market is heading. But if we, go back to this listing, right? You can see it's been sitting on the market for 41 days, not that many saves. They tried to list it for 74% above what they bought it for in 2018. Let's do another thing, actually. How much did this zip code appreciate since 2018? We can find that out on Reventure app. How much did this zip code appreciate since 2018? 2018, we were at 189,000 typical value in this zip code. Now we're up to 323. So it appreciated actually about 70%. So I would say actually this seller's initial inclination about how much the market has gone up from 2018 to 2025 is accurate. It did go up about 70%. However, you can see the market has started to go down and will likely go down another 8.9% over the next year, according to our data. So if you are a prospective buyer on this house, understand that the market here is dropping and declining. And one thing, I encourage a lot of buyers to do is to, make offers on houses in this environment, because prices are dropping in Orlando. They'll continue to drop. It's a buyer's market. So when a seller lists, often they're listing kind of still at a pie in the sky valuation. And they might not want to cut the price $50,000, right? They might not want to advertise that they're going to do that. But if you were to offer them at maybe $50,000 below asking price while you're pre-qualified or while you're buying in cash, and you were to give justification about why you're buying or why you're offering that amount with data showing that the market's going to go down, you might actually have a chance to buy a house at below market price and actually get ahead of the downturn, and instead of waiting, buy today at a cheaper price. That's what a lot of our users on Reventure app have been doing over the last 3 to 6 months in markets that are have a downward forecast and where prices are dropping. They're actually finding success using this data to negotiate with sellers and to negotiate with listing agents to secure transactions that ultimately save them tens of thousands of dollars. So what I encourage you guys to do, if you're a home buyer and investor in Orlando, and you're a serious home buyer investor and you're going to look in the next 6 to 12 months, go to www.reventure.app right now. I'm going to show you exactly what to do. Go to www.reventure.app and type in your city and zip code. So, if you want, you can just type in Orlando just to start. And then you'll be taken to the map, right? And you could immediately see certain data under a free account. You could see the basic home values, the trends over the last year. But what you're going to want to do, actually, folks, and let me just mimic what you're going to see. You're going to want to upgrade so you can access the price forecast. So the monthly pass for the price forecast is $49 a month, less than 0.01% of the cost of buying a house in Orlando. So upgrade to that monthly pass or the annual pass, which is actually a 32% discount, and you'll be able to see this price forecast for all the different zip codes in Orlando, see how much values are forecast to drop, and you'll be able to build an offer strategy based off these forecasts with the ultimate goal of buying a house at a below market price and a below list price. And that's what a lot of our users have been doing. So sign up for that Reventure Premium plan in order to gain access to that. And ultimately, I think, celebrate the fact that Orlando's housing market has now entered a correction. This is a good thing that's happening. This is not a bad thing that's happening. It's a good thing that affordability is being restored to the market. It's a good thing that home buyers who've been waiting for the last 5 years are finally seeing the payoff, are finally seeing more homes for sale and prices going down. And this is likely just the start of the declines that are going to continue into the future. So if you want to be ahead of the curve as a buyer and investor, go to www.reventure.app right now and upgrade to that premium monthly pass for $49. Ultimately could save you thousands and thousands of dollars. So go to www.reventure.app right now, upgrade for that monthly pass, and I'll see you next time, everyone. This is Nick from Reventure Consulting. First video I've actually recorded in my new office, so hopefully